my colleagues in Germany, he's amazing. We have this joke in the office, putting the dead fish on the table. I don't know if this is a German saying.
It's kind of like puking it all out.
Yeah.
It's a similar concept. Like, just put it on the table. You can throw it away later. Just, like, put it on.
He'll say, hey, better put the dead fish on the table. Like, what about this? And it's great because we're like, oh, we need to think about that and consider it. And the more voices you have that are telling, like, you're going to get a better outcome at the end of the day.
Welcome to Talking Design and Engineering by MakeLab. Insights and advice from industry leaders driving innovation and shaping the future of people, processes, and technology in the world of physical products.
Hi, everyone. My name is Christina Perla. I'm the co-founder and CEO of MakeLab. I'm also the host of Talking Design and Engineering. Join us as we discuss the development of a smart home water sensor that helps you be more mindful about your water usage. So with me today is Emily Williams, co-founder and creative director of Hydrific, a Lexo company. Welcome.
Thank you, Christina. So happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited. I think your product's really cool, plus you're a client, and that's, like, awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so I always love to back it way up. Like, what got you into industrial design?
Yeah, that's a good question. Gosh, what got me into industrial design? I think it's a pretty typical story, I guess, for industrial designers. Didn't know anything about industrial design, but was one of these, like, tinkery kind of kids.
You were a Lego kid.
Yeah, Lego kid.
Got it.
Take stuff apart. Dad was always, like, building things, right? So I wanted to build things with Dad, right?
That's cool.
Yeah.
In the garage, like that, that style.
But, it's funny because I was doing graphic design in the 90s, like as a high schooler, because I was sort of a nerd in school. So I started doing, like, web design, graphic design in, I don't know, I was like a kid playing with the internet. The internet was new and shiny, and and so I thought I wanted to be
Macs.
I wanted to
With the colorful Macs.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't have one of those. We were a PC, but I was a PC family. I have IBM Brat, so.
I see.
So, yeah, I thought I wanted to be, a web and graphic designer. I was doing that in high school. I made, like, my high school's first website in, like, 1998, and I had never heard of industrial design. I applied for graphic design, College of Design at NC State. And as soon as I got there, they're talking about, like, typography and posters, and I'm like, ooh, I don't think that's what I want to do. I want to, like, make stuff. Like, I want to make, at the time, thinking I want to make web. There was no web design. There was no, like, career in this stuff yet. Really, there was a little bit, but yeah. So that first semester, I just decided I wanted to change my major. I actually switched into, like, sculpture and like art.
It's a nice, like, transition to ID because it kind of blends everything that you graphic and, like, sculpting and, like, working with physical things.
Exactly. And, I had this, the way they did the classes in NC State at the time, you had, like, the first year was design fundamentals. So you're with architecture, art and design, all of the different fundamentals. And so I got to kind of experiment and play with different things. And I loved creating we did all sorts of, like, a machine parts project where you built these objects using machine parts. That was probably one of my favorite projects. And I built this, like, pendulum clock that had, like, a color theory wheel. And I ended up making a watch out of that, like, a couple years later. But yeah, I just realized I wanted to do industrial design, but I was terrified of the industrial design kids. Like, they were in the basement, first of all. So the way it was, like, organized, like, architecture in the top floor, then you got a landscape architecture, graphic design, and then you've got, like, art and design was down the road. And then you've got the industrial designers were in the basement at the time. So it was kind of like the hierarchy of, like the, but if you went down to the industrial design basement with the, upperclassmen, you're like, these people are hardcore. These people are crazy. Like, there's no way I can't do that. Like, I felt very intimidated by the industrial designers. Like, they were all amazing sketchers. Like, I could sketch just fine, sure, but they were, like, intense.
Yeah.
But yeah, so, I switched my major. I'm like, I'm going to do it. I want to make things. I want to make physical things. At the time, like, cell phones were starting to become really cool. This is like 2000. You didn't have smartphones yet, right? It was just like, I wanted to design, like, electronics. So I kind of went from that, like, graphic web design to sort of like, hey, I love electronics. Of course, my career path went, like, all over the place after that. You don't have, when you're a young designer, control really over, like, where you'll end up sometimes. But you can maneuver your way around. So that's, I guess, what I did. But yeah, I just liked the, making physical things. And as I learned more about industrial design, it's just something I enjoy doing.
never
Been a
look
closeted
back.
jewelry designer for a long time.
I
so
love that.
I was like,
I think we printed a few things, right?
yeah, you did print a couple of my jewelry
I
pieces.
love that.
Yeah, so I, just making, things that are useful and fun and interesting and yeah.
Yeah. And so what was it? So you went to NC State, right?
Yep.
So what was the ID program like there? I mean, you described the basement.
Yeah,
But like,
yeah. Oh, it's
what-
amazing now. The
Yeah.
program. I wish I could go back to school there now because they have a brand new facility. It's like incredible, actually. I was touring it last year.
Nice.
Yeah, it's. I was like, wow, you guys are. It's funny, 3D printing wise. I was the first one at NC State to ever use a 3D printed
No way.
project because it was like installed basically when I was graduating, and we didn't even have 3D CAD modeling classes then. They didn't require it for graduation until the year after I graduated. I graduated in like 2003, so it was still kind of an up and coming thing. I even wrote I had a business writing class in college, and I wrote my paper on Stratasys Dimension.
No
3D printing
way.
machines, and I was
Whoa.
like, why did I write that paper? But I was
That's so cool.
Yeah, I was sort of obsessed with 3D printing. I think I wrote something like, I don't know, everybody will have a 3D printer in their house in 5 years or something. Like I'm living in Star Trek world. Like I want like a
Yeah.
replicator. This
Yeah.
is where
Yeah.
my head is sometimes. But but yeah, it was like. I printed that, I was actually a transportation class, so I 3D
The
printed
classic
a car.
ID class.
And it was one of these like what are those like plaster printers where it's like water based and you have to like cover it in like super glue so it doesn't break because it's super fragile. It was like a really old 3D.
Powder. It was like a powder
Powdered, yeah.
gypsum.
Yeah.
Could you do color as well?
No, this is like super old. It was
But you had to like infiltrate it with like a resin
Yeah.
or some sort of bonding
pulled it out. It was
agent.
like this delicate,
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But it was really fun because I had to teach myself, how to 3D model with that project because it wasn't even a class.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun. But,
Wow.
Yeah.
You're better than me. When I went to Pratt, they had a 3D printer. I never used it.
Yeah.
I didn't use a 3D printer until like I was like 24.
Oh wow. Yeah. Yeah. Well, it was,
Took me a minute.
yeah, and they had just put this printer in when I was I was a senior at the time, and I was like, I really want to play with that 3D printer because I was just obsessed,
Yeah.
So, yeah, but it was fun. And my teacher actually did not give me a good grade in that class because I used a 3D printer because it was supposed to be
Interesting.
hand carved out of like blue foam. And I kind of hated blue foam, so I didn't
Not
want
the
that.
clay models? Not the scale clay models?
They were like supposed to be, kind of like speed forms or something. I don't remember.
Yeah.
It's been a long time. It was in my portfolio, and you look back at your portfolio, and I'm like, how did I ever get a job?
Yeah. Interesting. I feel like that conversation's still a thing today, like in the
Yeah.
design schools. It's like, why would you 3D print? Just like build with your hands.
Yeah. Well, and I built
get it.
the models that I kind of, or sketch typical process in school, sketching, and then forming ideas, and then like, hey, what is this for? It was like a project for like a 2030. It was funny. So I think it was 2035 future car, and it's like 2035 isn't that far away. you know?
No, we're like 10 years away from
Yeah, I
that,
know,
right?
right.
10, 11?
Yeah. So, and I think that
That's funny.
it ended up probably looking a little bit like a Tesla Cybertruck, a little bit the design I did
Oh,
back then, which is
interesting.
really kind of funny to look back on.
Yeah.
but-
The most controversial.
Yeah, I know. I was like
Car of, like,
thinking
the
this is
past
really
5
not
years.
the best car design. I'm not a car designer, so
Yeah.
that's fine. But
Yeah. I kind of wish I took an auto design class, transportation class. Would have been interesting.
it's fun. I had to get into cars a little bit when I was in school.
Also, it's almost like a rite of passage for
Yeah.
ID.
Yeah.
Like you have to do furniture, you have to do transportation,
Yeah.
and then you have to be obsessed with water bottles after.
Yeah. Well, hey, that's
Which is actually a great
did that for a little
segue.
bit.
I did not intend that. So what did you do after school? Like what was
Yeah.
like how did you go out into the real world?
Well, I had an internship in pharmaceutical industry, and I wasn't doing industrial design at all. I was doing interaction design because that's my background. I was
I mean,
doing
it's
web design.
adjacent. A lot of people jump.
Look, I paid through college. I paid for college by doing freelance graphic and web design. Like that's what I was still doing. That's like my resume was just freelance clients.
Yeah.
Because I was like that 15-year-old kid doing websites in the 90s. So yeah.
Segue. Did you do the MySpace like customization, like HTML, CSS?
Oh, yeah.
That's how I learned how to code
Oh,
lately.
it's embarrassing, and like my old websites are still on like the way
And
back.
then
Shame I shouldn't
LiveJournal?
say this online. Yeah. LiveJournal don't even. Oh my gosh, I still.
Do you know
have,
what I mean?
I still have a LiveJournal.
There was like another one, like a journaling site. I forgot what it was, but there was
Oh, yeah.
Tumblr. There was
I was
like,
on all of these
those.
ORCID. There were all these old.
Yeah.
I was all. So I had a website. My first website I made for myself was a fan page for The Last Unicorn. Just by the way, so this is.
It's the last unicorn.
It's a book from. It's a book in a 1982 cartoon.
Okay,
Yeah,
got it.
it's. Yeah. Any,
I
so
love
that's
that
like
though.
that's how it starts, right?
Yeah.
You make a fan page, and kids do this today. It's like nothing changes, It's like
Yeah.
you have like a fan website, or I guess today, I don't know, what do people use TikTok? It's like
Yeah, it's TikTok today.
yeah.
TikTok and
I do
Instagram.
go on TikTok sometimes, but no, but
We're all guilty of it.
yeah, but it's funny because thinking back about. I completely forgot what we were talking about.
No worries. It was you were in pharmaceuticals.
Oh, right, school, right.
Yeah.
It's all connected. No.
Yeah, it is though.
Yeah, but I was doing, when I was my first real job or my internship was in pharmaceuticals, and I was designing internal software applications.
Yeah.
Like, so this is not what I went to school for. This is not what I wanted to do, but it paid well. It paid well.
Right.
Got me through college without debt. But NC State's also a very affordable school. So it's one of these things where I feel like if I stay here, I had been working as a contract interaction designer at the time, making these internal software tools, working with like really complicated like FDA approval software flow for the internal research chemists and things.
So customized workflows.
Yeah, and so
Interesting.
yeah, and it was a lot
Systems.
system design, totally. And we were working on I was technically in the IT department working whatever was needed IT wise. We would like jump on a project and do that. So I jumped around at that company in a couple different roles because I was kind of summer intern and then came back, and then they hired me like full time, and I was graduated in 2003, and by 2004 I'm like, I'm going to get stuck doing this. Now, it's funny because a lot of people end up in UX design now. And
Yeah.
UX wasn't a word back then, really.
It wasn't. It became popular in like 2014.
Yeah, I don't even...
App
yeah.
Store.
Oh,
It's
okay.
probably like the whole like
Yeah.
iPhone.
I think it was like a Don Norman, he like coined it to explain industrial design like more broadly. And then it got, kind of...
Digital.
Yeah, it changed. It changed a lot.
Yeah.
But I was so tired of 2D. I was so tired of working on my computer all day. And I joked about this. Like, I was so tired of doing, sitting in front of a computer all day.
Yeah.
Which is hilarious because I ended up sitting in front of a computer all day doing CAD modeling after I got my first industrial design job.
I would say that you enjoy thinking in 3D.
Yeah, I do.
The tool of how you get there is different, but I think,
Yeah.
Thinking in 2D versus 3D, it's very
Yeah.
different. I
And
think that's what
and
it
it's
is.
about creating that physical thing at the end of the day.
Yeah.
However you get there, like it doesn't matter if it's a 2D, design on a page, 3D printing it to make it 3D,
Yeah.
but then it's like perfect too, right? Like parametric 3D modeling is so powerful because you can create like exactly what you're trying to accomplish, and then
Yeah.
visualize it. But when I so I wasn't planning to leave that job at the time. But I had a Quora Flat portfolio online, with all my college work in there. And I got a phone call one day from what became my first boss. Oh, something I completely forgot about. When I was a junior in college, I had done this IDSA competition. And they had a student competition
Yeah.
for the National Library of Science, and it was actually a digital talking book project for the blind and visually impaired and handicapped. Like you couldn't physically read a book. And so they were redesigning this very, very old cassette player that they put digital books on, and it was like this government service. So they were going to redesign that to be a digital talking book. Again, this is like 2001, 2002 era. So it was like an SD card with your digitized books, and it was like a delivery service for people. And so they held the student competition with IDSA. And I ended up winning like third place, and
Amazing.
I won a trip to the IDSA International Conference, and I got a trip to Monterey. I won like $1,000, which was like a lot of money for me
I mean,
in
as a
college.
student,
Yeah.
especially back then.
Yeah, so that
Not
got me.
nothing.
exposed at IDSA. And, people were like, oh, here's the idea winners for this. And, I met people at that conference that I'm still friends with today.
That's
So,
awesome.
Yeah. In fact, at the last IDC conference, they were there. And I was like on the panel speaking
Yeah.
at IDC,
Yeah.
20 years later. It's
That's
really
awesome.
crazy.
That's so cool.
But that was really formative to make me feel like, hey, I can still do something in ID, even though I wasn't working in ID at the time, right?
Right.
Because I had this in my portfolio. It was, on display at the Smithsonian at one point. It was just really cool. I still have the 2002 winter edition of Innovation Magazine where they published all the
Oh, I
designs.
love that. Yeah.
I'm
That's
gonna
awesome.
Scan it in one day. I don't
Yeah.
know. But so when I got this phone call out of nowhere. I was actually enrolled in grad school back at NC State because I'm like, I'm going to go back and get my master's degree because I want to do industrial design, and I felt like my portfolio wasn't that great, and I'd been working a lot, not just focused on a lot of different things because I'm usually doing too much at once.
Aren't we all?
Yeah, but it was Delta Faucet Company. It was my old boss. He said, hey, we saw your stuff online. We'd love to talk to you. And I'm like, okay, sure. And I didn't know this at the time, but they were starting to do electronic bathroom and kitchen products. So they wanted to start transitioning to more, forward-thinking home kitchen and bath products at the time. This is, again, 2004, right? So it's a little different era. And I'm like, this is amazing. So they flew me out there. This was, halfway across the country. I was in North Carolina. This is in Indianapolis. And I don't know. I still to this day do not know why they hired me because I look back and I'm like, I was absolutely not qualified for this. I feel that way, but maybe it wasn't that bad. But it was just, I didn't have anything plumbing related in my portfolio. Zero. Not even close. I did a water bottle. I did the car project. I had some other stuff. The digital talking book was more of universal design project. But that's what they actually, later he was like, that's why we liked you. You showed such variety, and we could see that you could tackle different things. And I'm like, oh, yes, okay, sure. But that was also something one of my professors always said. They were like, the one thing that you do well, and I want to make sure that you continue to do this as a young student, which was really formative, you're not afraid to try it. You're not afraid to just, you don't know anything about it, you'll jump in and you'll try it. And I'm like,
Yeah.
that is
Tenacity.
That's the one thing I am. I'm not afraid to maybe I am afraid, and that's actually why I'll try to do it because I'm like, oh, I can't do that in my head.
You rise up to the challenge. You don't back down.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a good attitude.
Yeah, but it's it's like if I feel like I'm a little bit intimidated by something, I'm like, I'm gonna figure that out.
It's interesting. One of my employees said that as well, and I was like, "That's how you know.
Yeah.
That's how you know they're a good one."
Yeah, and I guess that comes through sometimes. It's something, maybe it's just an internalized thing. It's always like, hey, I really want to do this thing. I don't know how to do it. I'm going to research how to do it. I'm going to learn more about it. I'm going to talk to the experts who do know it,
Yeah.
find those resources. When I found MakeLab, it's like, hey, we have this problem. I need this to be waterproof. How do I do that?
Yeah.
You're like, well, we got this new material.
Yep. So you went to the Delta
Yeah.
Faucets, and then what?
So I was there. I was actually, Masco owns Delta Faucet, so I was there for 8 years. And so
Wow.
I was at Delta for 4 years at the Delta.
And this started your water journey.
This started my water journey, yes. I had no idea.
What you were getting into.
If you could have asked me as a NASA astronaut, that's what I wanted to be. And because Star Trek, that's my favorite show. And then, architect, right? I want to build
course.
things. Graphic designer, web designer, or interaction design. And then, I don't know, maybe jewelry design or something fashion related at some point. So, that whole,
Yeah.
you're a creative kid, you want to do stuff. I was actually a flutist. I was a big musician until
I played
college.
flute as well.
Are you kidding me?
No,
I want
I
to 3D
really
print
did.
a magnetic flute so bad. I have been working on a magnetic flute design instead of springs since I learned about, there's these Finnish guys that design flutes. Anyway, we'll talk.
So Delta.
Delta, yeah. Then Masco had a global design. So Masco's a global company. They own Delta. They own Crafting Cabinetry, a bunch of other brands. And so I ended up, there was a new global design group. So I went up there in Chicago. So then I started my Chicago journey.
Oh.
And, it was amazing because I got to work on all different things. We had a hot tub company. They're Hot Watkins Manufacturing. So I got to work on spas
Very
and
cool.
hot tubs. Aero Fastener, could do power tools. I ended up working a lot still in other faucet brands within Masco because I just had a lot of faucet experience at that time. kitchen and bath products, not just faucets, bathtubs, and just anything you can think, lighting, vanity lighting, like just furniture design, all of it.
Yeah.
So it's just a wide variety of stuff. And we acted like an internal consulting group.
Yeah.
So we had like Liberty Hardware did like Target home brand, and we did like Martha Stewart brand stuff.
Okay.
And so it was just like whatever kind of came through the door, we would jump in and tackle. We did some like of our own projects. It was all home
Yeah.
consumer products. And then, I can't even remember what it was after Masco. Contigo was just around the corner from my office in Chicago. And there was an amazing, this is like 2012, I think, at this point. And I don't remember. I think I went in and I interviewed, and they ended up hiring me. And I was like, it's the same thing about water, beverage. And Contigo was all about removing single-use plastics from our lives and trying to get people to drink more, hydration on the go and taking, reusable bottles. I was like, this is really cool. And I love that this is more of maybe an everyday consumer item where like faucets and kitchen and bath products have a very long shelf life. They're not they last 20 years, right? Or
Yeah.
50 years. Sometimes you see they're still 100-year-old kitchen and bath products. They're like solid brass. They're never going anywhere.
Yeah.
But then with Contigo, there's a lot more experimentation. So when I started working there, it was like entertaining products and like, hey, what's the next, way that we're going to help people eat healthier on the go? How are we going to fit in people's lifestyle?
Interesting.
So started to get some of that, maybe a little bit of that jewelry, like kind of tickle that I had, where it's
Yeah.
a little more kind of like an exciting consumer product sold at Targets and Walmarts and Costco's, like big box stores, where I was kind of in like Lowe's, Home Depot land. And,
Yeah.
And, kind of different. It was a different world. And
Right.
I really thought that was cool. But yeah. And then I got the call for Lixil.
Just out of the blue.
Yeah, out of the blue. And in fact, at the time, I really enjoyed what I was doing at Contigo. And they talked to me for like 6 months trying to convince me to come out to, at the time, it was American Standard in New Jersey. And my boss, who became my boss, Jean-Jacques, who everybody knows in the design world here in New York, as soon as I talked to Jean-Jacques, he was like, we're gonna rebuild this brand. Like, we're gonna build it back up. He had been on the team for like a year. He was building this really amazing design team at the time at American Standard, and then Lixil acquired American Standard maybe a year or two later. But it was just exciting because it's like, yes, I love building something up, new with like a new way of thinking about it, and like having that ability to kind of come in and make a lot of changes to make it better, right? So that was an exciting time. So that's how I ended up at Lixil. So,
Damn,
yeah.
what a journey. Literally, a Coraflot
Yeah.
profile
Yeah.
and portfolio led to an entire lifetime
Yeah.
work of water.
Exactly. Yeah.
Very cool. And it's interesting because like you mentioned hot tubs.
Yeah.
I had a fun question. Did you get to like try out a bunch of hot tubs for research purposes?
No, because
Did you go to all the spas?
we would go. So they're in like Vista, California, also.
Uh-huh.
So it's like beautiful. It's like Southern California. It's gorgeous
Yeah.
out there, but they are intense at that place.
Yeah.
I was like, you guys need to test out your hot tubs more often.
Oh wow.
But it was funny because we were like, as a consultancy, they had their engineers internal, and then they had a couple design people like internal at that brand.
Yeah.
And then we were sort of external working on different components. So we were sending it to them, and then they would do all the, testing, and they would do, water tests and
Yeah.
things. But it was really cool to see the mold making process, like giant vacuum forms. And they did a lot of this stuff, though, in the mold. So you do it like roughly in 3D, and then it would be like
Yeah.
a lot of the detail work by hand still. I mean, this was also like more than 10 years ago. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Interesting.
It was really fun. It was really fun
Interesting.
to work on. We did like stereo systems, digital controllers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very cool. And so, okay, so now you're at Hydrific. Was it?
Yeah.
Did you start at Lixil or Hydrific?
So Hydrific is a venture that we started within Lixil from this experiment of this venture that we did.
Got it. So you started at Lixil and Hydrific
Yeah.
was born out of
Yep.
what, like during your time?
Yeah, so I was actually part of the global design team at Lixil here in New York.
Yeah.
And then Jean-Jacques there was this venture that was forming with the Tuck School of Business at Dartmouth. There's a Lixil program with Tuck, and so basically the formation of Hydrific was this incubation with a company called Mach 49. They're sort of like a Silicon Valley incubator, sort of like a Y Combinator.
Sounds really familiar. I think I've come
Yeah.
across it before.
Yeah, they're amazing. So they have basically it's a design thinking process. You know, you what's the problem? Let's define it. Let's ask how might we. Let's put some goals. You know, there's a whole process. It's really a perfect process for a designer to come
Yeah.
in and say that yes, this is how things should be done. So it was really exciting. And Jean-Jacques said, hey, I'd like to recommend you for this venture. You can apply for it internally. And they interviewed me, and they accepted me on the team as one of the co-founders. So at the time, there were 5 of us from throughout a global Lixil. So Japan colleagues from Germany, the U.S. They were based in California. So we were really a global team. Now, this is also like the end of 2020 when they were forming this group. So it was middle of the pandemic, still work from home.
Yeah.
Kind of, I feel like in a lot of ways the pandemic gave people permission to do these kind of experiments, right? So we ended up formally having our first meeting in January 2021, and our goal at the time was how can we help with water? There's water scarcity issues across the globe. Like, what are we going to do? We make water delivery products at Lixil, and how can we help people save water for the future? Really
Yeah.
big topic.
Yeah.
And we said, how might we make water conservation easy and enjoyable? Yeah.
How many co-founders are there?
So right now, there were 5 originally. There's 4 still on the team. One took a fancy role elsewhere in Lixil. And so the 4 of us have been working on this project for the last 3 years now. I was the one designer. We had like marketing and sales and engineering, and we all switched roles, which was also really fun. Like everybody did every piece of the journey. Like you have
Oh.
a marketing person doing sketches to do storyboards, to test, to do
Yeah.
research, and we all did we did hundreds of interviews. I mean, we talked to subject matter experts, we talked to homeowners, property owners, we talked to restaurants, we talked to home builders, we talked to, if you had anything to do with home or water or had plumbing pipes in your structure,
You're like, I want to talk to you.
we wanted to hear what were you experiencing, especially in California, Australia, Southern Africa, Singapore, like everywhere.
Oh, cool.
We wanted to, and there's places globally that are much further ahead, have much bigger water scarcity issues than we do in the U.S. So let's talk to them. Let's talk to
Yeah.
who's experienced it the worst.
You want to talk to both ends of the spectrum.
Yes, exactly. It's like those edge cases.
A
and-
wide breadth. Yeah.
and really understand, like, hey, how did they solve these problems? And it's such a fascinating field. When you think about kitchen and bath products that you use every day, this is one of the things we found in the incubation was it's so everyday, it's so ubiquitous. You take it for granted. And then when you ask people, is water important to you in your life? It's like, it's so important. I want to go to the beach. I want to enjoy that relaxing bath. I want to have these, like, water's life, right? It's a
Yeah.
source of life. So when people start to think about it, they're like, it's the most important thing. Like, we do
Yeah.
not have, we are not, there is no life without water.
Yeah.
But then in our everyday lives, it's just, you don't even think about it. So kind of that was, how do we help give a face to water? Like, how do we help elevate your water usage every day more mindfully in a way that's not like judgy or, kind of making you feel bad about it? Because you want to enjoy the water in your life.
Right.
You want to have that luxurious shower, but can we do it in a way, you want to water that one plant that you want to keep alive. You don't want to say you can't use water. You want to say, how can we use water just better? How can we make it more efficient? How can we use it? Yeah.
I think you brought up an interesting point as well, is like, in this modern society, everything that enables the way we live is tucked away and hidden.
Yeah.
So we have no access to see like how we're using it or its effect. Like everything's siloed.
Yep.
And so I think what's really interesting about the droplet product is it brings light to a concept that in modern day we're really not used to.
And we look to the energy sector. They're so, again, further ahead. Like, water's a little bit further behind. Everybody has their solar panels and green energy and battery cars. But what are we doing about water? And water's much more complicated in a way. It's really hard to seal systems, as we know. I mean, this is really difficult to, tracking your power usage or energy usage is, let's look to them. Let's see what worked there. What issues did they experience early on trying to introduce, more, ecologically sound energy, systems in our world. And so like the energy infrastructure, and then when you start thinking about the water infrastructure, America's water infrastructure is old. It's crumbling, right? How can we help know when there's an issue? We have a pipe burst. We had that pipe burst right by our office, actually, in Midtown. Like 1 million gallons in a day, gone. And the water infrastructure in the U.S., there's so much, the hidden water energy nexus, as you might hear, it costs a lot to clean water, to deliver clean, safe water to people. The processing plants, we talk to a lot. We have a relationship with the Alliance for Water Efficiency, and working with utilities, you hear what they go through to make water so perfect and available for us. And I'm like, I had no idea all of this was happening.
You never know. It's
Yeah.
not really making it's not like cool, sexy. It's not
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
It's not entertaining. It's kind of the not glamorous. So
we as
you know.
consumers get the benefit of very inexpensive available water most of the time, but the people who are helping create that water, boy, do they feel a lot of pain. Like they really experience a lot of difficulty to get us that water. Like peak demand, for example. You have everybody watering their lawns at the same time. You've maxed out the water utility. Or people who are on well systems. I mean, I grew up on well water. And it's like there is no, water processing. Our well could go dry. Like one summer, our neighbors' wells were going dry, and how would we ever know that we were using, too much water because there's a drought, So, but yeah.
Very interesting. Very interesting. I have a lot of thoughts and a lot of questions. So we defined the problem. We talked about the team behind Hydrific and the start of it all. And so you've been doing this since end of 2020. So it's about almost 4 years now.
Yeah, I guess we think like 3 years-ish, but I guess it's going on 4 now, which is kind of crazy to think about.
So what has that journey been like? Like, let's tap into the entrepreneurial side of all this.
Yeah.
Which is, because you're in a very unique situation in which you are effectively working in a startup.
Yep.
But within a corporation.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, what are the dynamics behind that? Like, I kind of feel like this is an industrial designer's dream.
Honestly, it was it didn't start this way. It started as basically a 6-month venture, and I still had my day job, right? I still had my day job on the design team.
Oh, this was extra?
Oh yeah, this was kind of. So it's hard. You know how projects are. They have a long tail. So you've got a lot of things in progress. They're going through different stages, and I was juggling a lot of stuff at the time as a design director on the global design team. So there was always more projects than time or effort. So then I was stepping away from that, reducing my workload to work on Hydrific, but I kind of still had all of that stuff still to do. So it felt like I had 2 jobs during this in a lot of ways.
Wow.
But focusing more
Very
on
startup-like.
Yeah,
It's kind of like right in line.
our entrepreneur in residence from Mach 49, amazing Atif. He's amazing if you ever get to work with Atif. But he told us, maybe it was day 1, he said, this is the hardest you will ever work. You will never work hard. And I'm thinking, oh, I have worked hard. You have no idea. And then maybe a month in, I was like, he's right. This is the hardest I'm ever going to work.
Right. Like, this is a new level I couldn't have predicted.
And then every year that went by, I'm like, you know what? This is, and I think
It just
maybe
keeps upping itself.
it really is now, especially looking back or where I am right now. It really is sort of my dream job. Or this is what, if you took, graduating senior Emily and said, hey, what would you want to do? I'd say, I want to design electronics for people to make their lives easier. I was really into, universal design at the time, that Smithsonian project with the IDSA. So I was thinking about how to make things better and easier through technology. And so to do a smart home product that helps people use water more efficiently, have this new tool that we can design from the ground up, and I'm part of the co-founding group, so we're able to really keep a very close, relationship with the product. It's not, it's not like a business where, we're just making a widget. It's like we're all very passionate about it.
Yeah. How would you, it's interesting. Not everyone's cut out for the startup life.
Yeah.
Especially coming from a big corporation. It is a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. Yeah.
it's kind of incredible that the 5 co-founders
Yeah.
of like Hydrific were able to, level up their skills,
Yeah.
like add on, like be continuously interested
Yeah.
and maintain that workload. Like it's really not for everybody.
Yeah.
That's how did so when you got the call for Hydrific, like
Yeah.
how did the people that put the team together? Like that's
Yeah.
so interesting.
Yeah, and Mach 49 as the kind of the incubator that worked within Lixil, I mean, they chose the team. They did personality tests and all this. They formed the
there we go.
team. Yeah,
Yes.
they formed the team with some magic formula that I'm not 100% sure what it was.
Yeah.
I'd have to ask Atif. No.
I'm very curious.
Yeah, and I'm gonna guess that they probably saw a lot of passion and dedication and excitement about it.
incredible.
I think the passion, or it's for me especially. This is another cool thing about Lixil, the purpose of what you're doing. Like, do
Yeah.
you have a strong purpose? Do you really feel like it's important? I don't know about you, but I have shiny object syndrome. Like, I get very bored very quickly if I'm not really feeling like it's making a difference or interesting or
I think all
Yeah.
designers are the same.
I mean,
Disregard.
I have my jewelry stuff on the side because
Yeah.
it keeps me sane on some level. Like, I have to do creative ideas. I have to like execute on them sometimes
Yeah.
because it's just like a weird internal drive that I do all of the time. And it's like to focus that into something productive, if it's my career or a hobby or playing the flute, like it's all this, stuff that gets me excited. And I think all of our co-founders, and actually I would say everyone on our team, like I think we've built this team that's full of people who just really enjoy what we're doing. And it's
incredible.
a good purpose. I mean,
Yeah.
we really do have a strong, when we did the incubation, when we pivoted, I mean, we changed multiple times as we learned. We found a really big problem, and it's a huge problem. I mean, we can't eat the whole elephant, right? We have to start somewhere. And so this, idea that we're here now, and this is a big job, but there's so much more to do. There's so much more to do. But yeah, I think that's probably maybe a good tidbit there is just everyone on the team really cares. And
That's awesome.
They're really excited about what we do.
And how big's the team now?
We have, that's a good question too. We have, I think, 15 people
That's
full-time.
awesome.
We also have some part-time people, but it's, and we have a lot of contract support where needed. But if you go on our website, we have the team laid out. I should know this because I did the team page. But, but yeah, we've really grown a lot. When we first started building the venture, I think it was already maybe 2022 by then. I can't even remember the timeline now. But yeah, we did the incubation for 6 months, and then we basically pitched like an investor pitch to our executive board to form our group, and then getting kind of that just as you would any venture, to
Yeah.
get seed funding, essentially, angel funding from our
Yeah.
internal. And so, once we did that, I was back to my 9 to 5 at Lixil Global Design, doing my regular projects, tidying up all that, which there was so many things that still needed to be done there. And then they formed officially the Hydrific group internally. And then they basically hired me, in that group. So I essentially switched departments.
Very cool.
But yeah,
That's so cool.
yeah, I don't remember when that was now.
Yeah. So, switching gears a bit back into the product, you
Yeah.
actually brought some samples with you.
Did, yes.
Let's see how it works. Walk us through.
Well, I want to start by saying this is a beta device. So this is the final design. This is one of the latest devices. And when we were on a Women in Design panel
Back in March, so about a year ago.
about a year,
Yeah.
a little over a year ago. And so we had field devices. We actually hadn't quite gotten to this final design yet. I think we had a slightly earlier iteration. And we just discovered some design issues that needed to be corrected in the field. So I'm like redesigning a few things here and there, because this is all my CAD model stuff and sketches and things. And we needed to produce more field models because these are all basically production ready, as if it were a final product to test in the field, because we had to get a lot of data to make this. This is a smart home device, so it has electronics, it's IoT product talking to the cloud, and there's a sensor inside that reads your water flow. So Yeah, so, we had to make this thing waterproof. It's supposed to be outside. Well, anybody who works with 3D printed models knows it's very hard to make something waterproof. And I think we were talking at that.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes, it was the soft elastic material for the
Yes,
gaskets.
yeah.
Yes.
So where the electronics are in this, which here is,
Yeah, where is the gasket?
yeah. So there's a little
It's
D.
inside.
It's a D shape. There's like a little pocket inside
Yeah.
here. And so this is the, let's just show. So this is a clamp that clamps over your pipe. So it can expand to fit like a really large pipe.
Nice.
So that it has to be pretty flexible to fit different size. So it goes all the way up to like a 2-inch diameter and all the way down to like a 1/2-inch pipe.
So cool.
diameter. And so to get this this pocket where all the electronics are, because it's like a USB-C charge. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it has to be waterproof.
Yeah.
And for outdoor installation, a lot of
Right.
people's main water pipe is outside.
Yeah.
Because this is like a 1-point installation. So you install 1 point on your main line, all the water that comes in, everything that passes by the sensor gets picked up and tracked. And then with the machine learning algorithm,
That's so
it
cool.
can actually detect what fixture you're using based on the pattern of that ultrasonic signal in the pipe that it's reading. So, that was a pretty big problem. I mean, we had an asymmetrical shape that had to be waterproofed. It was actually almost an identical shape to a gasket I'd done at Contigo.
Yeah.
So I had done this like big over-engineered Contigo pitcher that was like spill-proof, and it had the almost
Oh.
identical shape. So actually, Ari,
Interesting.
the engineer, had taken the seal that I had made on that project like 10 years earlier, and it was almost identical
Wow.
to this one, which was hilarious and accidental. So he was able to redesign that seal, and because you told me about the soft elastomer material, it was thin enough and flexible enough to be like a double wiper seal.
Amazing.
I actually brought a
Amazing.
sample of the production one because
Oh, yeah?
we have the ones that you had made, and then we just
Yeah.
had all of our
Oh,
first.
I want to see it. Definitely want to see it later.
Which one's first off tool and which one's 3D printed? Like
Yeah.
this is brand new right off the tool as of last week.
Yeah.
And it's like you can't even tell the
Yeah.
difference.
No, it's great.
Yeah.
It's great. It's such a great use
Yeah.
case and application of like what additive can do. Because like besides the color, I mean, the way it functions and the resolution is very, very, very similar to the soft tooling.
Yeah. So when you don't have a good signal on the pipe, and this is a working model also, by the way, I can plug this
That's
one.
awesome.
Plug this one in, and then as soon as you get that good signal of the from the sensor on the pipe, it then goes aqua blue.
That's
so you can see.
cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
So tell us more about like the product. And before this call, you were showing me it's so sensitive. It can detect an
Yeah.
earthquake. Like,
Yeah.
like it just happened,
yeah.
yesterday
Yeah.
in New York.
Yeah, so this, the ultrasonic sensor, it's, if you think about like getting a ultrasound, it's the same, general technology. It's used a lot in maybe industrial equipment to sense gas pipelines and that stuff. So this is like
Interesting.
a consumer grade ultrasonic sensor. There's two sends a signal and bounces back through. So it takes the inside diameter and it calculates the time of flight. And it's taking a reading, it's down to like the millisecond. So it's like every 50 seconds it's taking a reading. So it's incredibly like high resolution. So it's
Wow.
producing a ton of usage data that then we have an amazing software team. We have an amazing software and
That's
back-end
so
team
cool.
that's creating all of this, kind of scalable infrastructure to make this product. So it's really exciting that we've gone so quickly. I was telling you before we sat down how quickly, because we're very close to your offices.
Yeah.
We're just a train ride away over
Yeah,
here
yeah.
in the city. But we made lots of iterations, so many.
So many iterations.
many
You guys made
iterations.
so many iterations.
And we were able to do this and get us to this production stage
It's amazing.
so much faster. And a lot of times as a designer and an internal team working with a big, conglomerate, to get things done is very hard.
Yeah.
Like you have to know every manufacturing process, everything that's going to happen, and you have to be very careful. You can't make too many changes because something will fall through. But
Right.
with this, we were able to say, hey, I want to make this a snap fit lid so we can repair it, so it can be circular, so we can refurbish them. Let's put a snap fit on there.
Amazing.
2 days later, if we had to make that tooling change, and it would never happen. So this process has gotten, and we're also making this in America. We're making this in the U.S., so we're trying to keep this small footprint with this
Very
fast,
cool.
agile. Yeah, so it's incredible to
that.
have the MakeLab resource here to help
I
us
love
through.
that.
One, helping us know that
Makes
these
me so
materials
happy.
even existed.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I can't thank you enough, by the way, for all. I mean, seriously, like,
Of course,
the more I
that's
sit down
what
and
we're here
think about
for.
it, I'm like, how did we get here so
Yeah.
fast? Because it really was like a year ago we had this
Yeah.
idea. Not this idea, but I mean this final iteration. And I mean, I've seen projects when I'm done with the CAD model and I'm handing it off to engineering, it's like half engineered a little bit. And then, I've got the nominal wall thickness, it's drafted or whatever. And then, you're sending it out and it's like, it's going to take another 6 weeks of detail engineering back and forth, all the little things that you got to modify and this and that. And then it's like, oh, hey, I just had this better idea halfway through
Right.
that I
Can
want
we
to
change
add
it out?
a snap fit. Like,
Yeah.
they'd tell me to take a hike, It's
Yeah,
like, but
yeah, yeah.
but now it's like, hey, we can do that. We can,
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. And you guys were printing like,
yeah.
a good quantity number of parts.
Yeah.
And getting them in like 5 days.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, when I think about it like
Yeah.
that, I'm like, oh damn.
Yeah. And yeah, we had
I'm
like,
glad we could help.
yeah, it's like, we had like 200 plus field models, we had
Oh, awesome.
just so many test iterations going back and forth just because this thing, it's not, we want it to be perfect, right? Well,
Yeah.
Designer dilemma, you want everything to be perfect. But,
Always.
but to make it, to reduce our risk, right? To reduce the risk that there's going to be an issue with it, to make sure everything's up and running. We want to deliver a product that people are going to, if we aren't going to help people save water if this part doesn't work right,
Right.
So getting to that point of making this, to the level of quality that we're, going to produce. Yeah. Getting this part down, learning in the field with a
Yeah.
real product that's works like a real production part with 3D printing. I mean, it's incredible.
Yeah, that's
I
awesome.
dreamed about this 20 years ago.
That's awesome. Oh, that makes me so happy.
And it's just like a lot of fun. This little river rock,
Yeah.
that's the concept that we haven't talked about it a lot yet in the
Yeah.
campaign, but
I was gonna ask, like, what
Yeah.
is the inspiration for the form?
yeah, it like river shapes a river rock, right? The river
Yeah.
flow shapes the river
Ah.
rock, but droplets shaping your water use. Like droplet is shaping your water. So it's kind of like conceptually, I kept joking about this river rock thing and wanting to make this little like gray river rock. It's
Like a little pebble.
yeah, but also like soft and inviting. Like we want to make this complicated, kind of like scary topic of water scarcity, like very approachable and simple and easy, no brainer. Like you can get up and running in no time. A lot of these kind of like, there's other smart home water
Right.
stuff out there, but they're a lot of work. They're a lot of work to install. You
Yeah.
have to cut the pipe. You have to do, there's some easier ones that are
Yeah.
like different ways of putting it on. But we put a lot of work into like how to make this incredibly simple, like
Right.
plug and play, any direction. There's no up or down, vertical, side, like it's easy. You can't mess it up. You can install it that way or upside down. So,
Wow.
we went through those, exercises of, hey, let's redesign it, working really closely with our mechanical engineers, David and Ari
Yeah.
and everyone, to kind of come up with this final design.
I think that's something really important to note because a lot of people hear the word design
Yeah.
in industrial design and think it's just color, material, finish,
Yeah.
like CMF.
Yeah.
But it's not, because if you think about where if this were ever to go retail,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
If you think about this being in a Home Depot or a Lowe's,
Yeah.
back to our
Yeah.
previous points, and you see this amongst other water, like smart water sensor
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
devices, and you see something blocky and intimidating, like the chances of that being sold versus
Yeah.
this and people
Yeah.
picking it up or even being curious,
Yeah.
much, much lower.
Yeah.
And so even if we were to go as far as the usability of it, right?
Yeah,
like
exactly. Huge point.
all
Yeah.
different like points, because
Mm-hmm.
a lot of products in this world are designed for
Yeah.
one single micro application.
Yeah.
And if there's any deviation, edge case, or variability, it's not designed for that. So it's not going to
Yeah.
work the same.
Yeah.
The user experience is not the same.
Yeah.
And so people joke about like, industrial designers make products human.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I would say everything you just said is a prime example of that.
Yeah, it's true. Like the more approachable or kind of like taking something complicated and making it simple, the better. I mean, our lives are complicated enough. Like the last thing, and honestly, water is the last thing on people's minds most of the time. It's a crisis
Yeah.
when you don't have it, but it's not.
It's in the background.
I want to make this easier.
Part of the house.
That was part of our mission, like
Yeah.
making this approachable and easy. Like people told us, I don't have time for that.
Yeah.
When we were sitting down and talking to people in their homes, they're like, yeah, well, I've got this thing going on. I've got the spill, my flat tire. Like you think I know my faucet's leaking. I'm never going to fix it. And it's
Yeah.
like, okay, how do we get somebody to fix that? Like, what can we
Yeah.
do? And if I make this complicated, that's not going to happen.
I
you know?
love that. I think that's such a unique, like this whole project, Droplet and Hydrific is such a unique, like use case
Yeah.
of the blend of ID
Yeah.
and startup problem
Yeah.
solving. It's blended so nicely together.
And like technology, new technology,
Yeah.
and Internet of Things. It's, you know,
So cool. Like you really, you, I can tell that
Yeah.
you guys have done so many user interviews. Like,
Yeah.
you really have to. You can't skimp on those,
I am a
even if
hu-
it feels repetitive.
Yeah, research. I love, design research as a whole
Yeah.
discipline, but I love I love ethnographic research. I love going in and understanding like how somebody uses something. It's usually it's always something interesting that
Yeah.
the anthropology side of that.
Yeah.
And so that was the other thing about this process is it's rooted in that. Like it's rooted around what's the problem, where's the pain of the problem,
Yeah.
like where's the pain people are experiencing, or what's define what we're going to solve, and then solving for it through an iterative process. Like, really doing that really thoroughly. It's almost like the process you learn in college, but to really apply that all the way through, that's, even in my career up to this point, it's like in 20 years working as a professional designer, it's like I'd never really gone all the way through to the level where we started a company. I got to design the logo.
Yeah.
It's like it's
That's
like
so cool.
every facet of it, like even making
So cool.
yeah.
So cool. Would you say that like, so question, how many of the Hydrific team members were industrial designers?
I'm
are.
the only industrial
only
designer
one?
on the team. Yeah.
But you stay pretty close to the top of strategy and like
Right.
all that stuff. You direct a lot.
Right. So strategy wise, as especially co-founders, I would say everybody on the team, we're pretty flat. The team's flat. Like everybody has a voice to.
I love that.
Yeah. This is a really
It's needed in startups.
really
It's very
important.
much needed.
And I get a lot of ideas. I talk out loud, I process out loud, and like kind of understanding even like how we work as a team. Like I'm always like, hey, I might say something, but just take it for like grain of salt. It's always okay to tell me like, hey, Emily, I don't even know where your head is. Like slow me down for a second. 'Cause,
Yeah.
Like again, shiny object syndrome. I'll be like, oh, what about this? And it's like, okay, bring me back. So we have the really good balance on our team too,
Yeah.
right? Some people are more, hey, I'm going to process this tonight, and I'll let you know tomorrow. It's like, it's good for me to know, hey, I need to stop and listen real quick because
Yeah.
my brain's like, I'm going to forget it before I even
You're
can
going,
write
going,
it down.
going, yeah.
Yeah. So it's like just working with like team dynamics in a way where everybody's going to be able to bring something up. One of my colleagues in Germany, he's amazing. We have this joke in the office, putting the dead fish on the table. I don't know if this is a German saying.
It's kind of like puking it all out.
Yeah.
It's a similar concept. Like just put it on the table. You can throw it away later. Just like put it on.
He'll say, hey, I'm gonna put the dead fish on the table. Like, what about this? And it's great because we're like, oh, we need to think about that and consider it. And the more voices you have that are telling, like, you're gonna get a better outcome at the end of the day. So
That's so cool.
So we do have UX designers. We have
Yeah.
really amazing UX designers. Uma on the team, who is our UX leader.
I love
so
that.
working on the
I love the
mobile
vibe.
app. This is like the beta
So good.
mobile app. This is actually a device installed at my parents' house for the last year, so you can see kind of their water usage data.
Yeah.
So we have a couple UX people also working on this. They're working with the brand guidelines. So the other great thing was establishing a visual design language and brand design language. So the outcome of the consistency, packaging, the design of the object itself, the strategy that we're talking through to get these in people's homes.
Yeah.
Even like the marketing campaign. I got to do the campaign video,
Yeah.
so it's like keeping the threads all consistent. And this is something we do at Lixil Global Design, like establishing a visual brand language that helps direct all those consumer touch points. And it's really more of that bigger, like, how do people experience the Droplet ecosystem, or when you're buying this product, there's an app associated with it that's following the same brand guidelines as everything else. And it's really important for me as a designer. Of course, you want to keep that one holistic message, so it's really, again, easy, simple, makes sense, not confusing.
Adoption. You want
Yeah.
people to use it.
Yeah, exactly, to achieve the goal.
You don't want to just put something out there that's going to sit on a shelf and then eventually get thrown away. That's counter
Yeah.
to your mission.
Like if I can get every single person in Southern California to have one of these, you're going to save so much. I mean,
Right.
30% of your water usage is what this can do, right?
Wow.
If you swap out, if you have a toilet from 1992 that's using 7 gallons of flush, you can put a 1.2 gallon per flush toilet in your house, and you're going to save lots of water. Or if you have one leaky something or another, you can calculate how much water that would use. We actually did a study like a year ago. Like one leaky toilet, right? It was like a flapper was bad. We had actually detected it in an alpha house with one of these guys. And we did the math, like if this continues to leak and they don't fix it, it's over 12,000 gallons
Wow.
annually that would be wasted.
Wow, that's a lot.
So catching things like that, I mean, a giant pipe burst is one thing, but these little micro leaks, they're behind the wall that you would never know about.
Right.
Now we know, and we
adds up.
can, by the way, there's an issue. And insurance claims aside from, a giant disaster, you can prevent that. And you can make, if you're a water,
Interesting business model.
Yeah.
Insurance. I never thought about that. That's
Yeah.
very interesting.
but also when you're talking about, you're in a water restricted zone, if Georgia had some bad droughts not too long ago, you could only water your lawn every other day, or like every Tuesday was the only day you were allowed to use water. So now you can say, hey, I know that I'm saving X amount, or I know I'm using this much water. I can still keep my, plant. Maybe you have a prized rose bush you want to keep alive. You know that, hey, I can still work within these constraints and not, overload the system that's going dry.
Very cool.
Yeah,
Very
so it just
cool.
helps give you a tool. It's just a tool to make all of this a little bit easier
Yeah.
and more mindful about
That's
it.
awesome. Could you demo how it works with the other one, with the
Yeah.
light?
So I'll take this off. And this is like this isn't the final CMF because we did do all CMF. So
CMF is very important.
yeah, that's fun stuff. So this doesn't
Very.
have the final textures. Again, this is first off tool. So again, very impressed with our first off tool samples, which we definitely dialed in all the things before we went to tooling.
With MakeLab.
With MakeLab. So this will be like an aqua like frosted, and then the
Yeah.
logo is going to be shiny.
Yeah.
Same with the lid here that's orange. So when you don't have a good connection on your pipe, it's this you can almost see there's two sensors.
Danger.
Yeah, so it almost like visualizes the two sensors.
Love that.
And so there's a little seashell design element here for the ribs to help make this. So it's like a lot
It's also
of
strengthening.
yeah, exactly. There's lots of little like water design elements in here. But yeah, once you find your pipe, your main water pipe, this actually has water in it. So like for example, if you accidentally put it on a gas line, it's not gonna turn yellow or turn blue. So then once you get it there, you just tighten the river rock shaped knob and it self aligns. So actually you can't do it wrong. So like let's say your pipe is a different like really big pipe or a smaller pipe, you don't have to worry about it. You can't do it. You
Yeah.
can't put it in the wrong spot because it self aligns
Yeah.
based on that shape. And then when you get it on there, you just tighten it till it turns blue. And that means you have a good signal,
Oh.
and you'll just follow the app. Now, there's an air bubble in this pipe, so you can see, like, if it detects the air bubble, it changes.
So sensitive.
Yeah, yeah. So that's how it's, right now it's actually sending, if this were connected to Wi-Fi, it would be sending right to that app I was showing you earlier.
Very
So,
That is so cool.
so if if your pipe goes like this, there you go. You can kind of see.
So it detects via
Ultrasound.
ultrasound the flow rate of water. So can it also detect like speed of water?
Yes, exactly. So as it's like almost like a Doppler effect. I think
Yeah.
I'm describing that incorrectly. David would probably like send a message right now, like that's not it. But there's these two, I think they're transducers that are sending this. One sending a signal, the other one's reading it, right? So it's bouncing off the inside wall, and that is like I said, 50 times a second. So every tiniest little flow, like 0.1 liter a minute or something. I hope I'm saying that right. But yeah, it's really sensitive. So it's giving you really, really precise information. So like if you flush a toilet and then wash your hands, there's overlapping water usage, this can detect it.
Wow.
So
if you have a teenager,
yeah. Oh my
you're
gosh.
gonna be like, son, you're taking way too long of a shower.
I cannot tell you how many parents that we talked to who said, I just want to know how my teenager is taking a 45-minute shower every single day. Like, this is the funniest thing. I did not know this was a universal problem that parents deal with.
Yeah, it's such a thing. It's such a thing amongst teenagers. It totally is. But that's so interesting. So I mean, there's this like side benefit for parents of teens as well.
Like, I just want to know so I can shut the water off. I'm like, hey. But
That's so funny.
yeah, but it's true. And, even like I forget stuff. Like I'll be, doing something, I'll not even realize that I left something on, right? This will tell you. This will tell you right away. Or let's say a big problem that we hear about in especially like Southern California, people have these fancy irrigation systems that are really hard to reprogram. So these automated, irrigation systems for your big fancy yard, you don't reprogram it. Now there's a drought, and now it's wasting all this water. You don't even realize it. Now this can tell you. So
Interesting.
yeah.
So, what's another interesting use case is like dishwashers that claim they use less water. Now they should be, the ones who aren't quite factual should be afraid.
That's really interesting. Yeah, I never even thought
You know
about
what
it.
I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
the claims of water conservation amongst like home
You'll know.
appliances.
The other thing
know everything.
The other thing that we found in that happens is things. It's almost like your car getting a tune-up. Sometimes you need to tune up. If you have hard water, it's really hard on your appliances, and it'll start to break down some of those water efficiency seals and things that are inside.
Oh, so you
sometimes
can
it's
start
like
to see
you could start to see a
wear and
change.
tear.
Yep.
Over time.
So you can see if something's not up to the standard or the rate it should be. Even if like outdated stuff, people even now like EPA does all these studies on like home water usage. There are so many old pre-code inefficient things, and people just don't even know. And there's all of us millennials out here buying new homes that are
Yeah.
fixer uppers, and now you'll see, whoa, hey, that I could sure lower my water bill if I swap that out with a high efficiency, washing machine. Washing machines use a fair amount of water, but now they're to a certain code, like that you can't sell it if it doesn't use a certain amount. But
Yeah, this is such an interesting product. Like the more you dive deep into it,
there's a lot to it.
there's so many layers to it. I find it very fascinating.
There was one research participant who said something, maybe it was like a year ago that we were talking to this, they were like, they were looking at basically the website about it to learn more
Yeah.
about it, and we were kind of getting feedback on where it was at that point. And they said, this is so simple and straightforward. I can really tell that you took something incredibly complicated and made it just really easy.
Yeah.
And when I heard that person say that, I'm like, wow, that's
Yeah.
really satisfying to hear that.
Yeah.
Because it is really complicated, and I feel like I'm trying to make this really easy and simple, and
Right.
to hear that our team helped that happen is pretty
That's
incredible.
amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, again, as a designer, one of the people on the team, every single person on our team has had so much to do with this design. Like, we could not have done any of this without
I love that.
the
I love
dynamics
how
of our
much
team.
you're like crediting your team and talking about the team effort.
Look,
It's person to person, I love that.
If I was the only one making choices, this thing would be weird. Like I need, it's like,
I love that.
You have a band and you got like the lead singer and you're like, yeah, you need the band.
Yeah, no, that's a really good metaphor.
Yeah. Like I'll do my
You
weird
need the
jewelry
music.
stuff on the side. We'll let that
Right.
be weird, but it's a good balance.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's
so,
awesome.
Yeah.
So, okay, so you guys just opened a Kickstarter. You got fully funded in how many minutes?
We were fully funded, and we were counting down to see if we'd be like. Honestly, I jokingly made funded in 1 hour graphic. And we were as soon as we kicked it off, it was like the Super
You
Bowl.
manifested it.
It was great. And 10 minutes go by, it's almost completely funded. 11 minutes, we hit the funding goal, and we were in shock. We scrambled to get everything done because we had this whole plan to do all this stuff.
So cool.
We had to update the LinkedIn post, the vlogs, all the stuff we
Yeah,
scheduled. I had to
yeah.
remake all the graphics right
all
there on the fly.
live.
I'm like shaking, making Kickstarter graphic. I could not believe it. And I was so
Wow.
you just don't know what's going to happen when you launch a product. You don't know, is it going to work? Like, we did all this research. It was always testing amazingly well. The whole process we went through was so rigorous, but there's still that thing. You're like, is it? Are people going to really buy it?
Right, you never know.
We had all these pre-orders. I mean, we had over 1,000 pre-orders of people who want to buy it when we release, because we're going shipping in August.
That's awesome.
But,
Wow.
you just don't know with a Kickstarter. I've always wanted to do a Kickstarter. I had started this Kickstarter idea, I don't know, in 2012 or something. I don't remember. Never had done one, always wanted to.
Right.
So the fact that we got to do a Kickstarter was really exciting. But yeah, when it kicked off and it was funded, I was like, I can't believe this. And it just blew every goal that even the things we were like, this is our stretch goal. I mean, we blew that out of the water in the first couple of days.
It's amazing.
So yeah.
That's incredible. That's
Yeah.
probably after years of work, that is just so validating.
Yes.
That is the big risk, right?
Yeah,
A lot of
yeah.
these new inventive products, you don't know if they're going to actually sell. So and that fear is shared amongst startup founders. and industrial designers, right?
Yeah.
Like that bit of anxiety.
Yeah.
But congrats, it's
Thanks.
freaking huge.
Yeah.
That's like huge.
Well, and it's testament to that process. Honestly, going back to the Mach 49 process, and it's really a design thinking process. We test, we vet, we do small experiments, small bets. We have a hypothesis, we prove out the hypothesis. We're talking to experts in the industry. And even like to get the Kickstarter going, like we started a community on a Facebook group, and we started getting people involved really early on. We have beta tester groups. We have, just like kind of these people who are helping us craft it along the way. And I think that rigorous process of, really listening closely to what the issues are, what the needs are, building solutions for that, taking kind of, qualitative and quantitative equal balance, and it's proving it out, right? And making sure that we had all that up front before we launched the Kickstarter. We had a Kickstarter readiness. We had all these metrics. We're like, are we ready for Kickstarter?
Yeah.
We're like, we're ready. We're going.
Yeah.
Hi, puppy.
You decided to join us.
So cute.
He went the right way. That's so cool, though. I love that. So okay. So what's next? So basically, you did the soft tooling. So
Yeah.
now you're doing more
Yeah.
and getting it ready for mass manufacturing.
Yep. So this is the first
Okay.
off tool. We're making a few adjustments just based off this, and then put the final CMF. We're planning for shipping in August to our
That's
backers. Everything's on track right now. We've got a custom PCB. I think I put some. Kickstarter has we put the Droplet logo on the PCB board,
I
which
love
is
that.
really fun.
That's
It's
cool.
like the things you dream about doing, and you finally do them.
It's just like that little thing that just makes it
Yeah.
all.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and yeah, we're gonna start. That's our next big milestone is shipping in August. So.
Yeah. That's awesome. And then after that, is it more products for more smart products?
We'll see.
Okay.
I might have some
okay.
plans. We'll see.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love that. I'm so excited to see it.
Even the app, like right now, our beta. Oh, hi, baby. I have a friend here.
Oh.
Okay, dog interlude. He
Yeah.
goes, doo, doo, doo.
Aw.
He's so cute.
He's so sweet. On the episode I did with Katie, he also joined.
That's so cute.
at
That's
the end.
hilarious. Everybody
Cool.
needs a dog, an office dog.
know.
My dog Beverly is our social media intern on the.
Oh, I love that. I
Because she
love
was
that.
in the video. She's in the campaign video.
Yeah.
So she was our "Did you leave the water hose on?" moment
Ah.
because he's playing in the yard with a puppy.
That's awesome.
Very relatable. No.
This is so cool, though. This is like it must feel so good. I mean, I know you have so much more work ahead of you.
Yeah.
But I mean, the market validation and the product market
Yeah.
fit, as they
Yeah,
like to
yeah,
say, it's a huge win.
Yeah.
Like that is incredible.
Yeah.
The Facebook group, like all of that
Yeah.
traction.
And I can't wait to do it again. I can't wait. It's like this
Yeah.
is like we've just
You got a taste.
Always
you
the
can't,
next
you can't go
thing.
back to regular.
Yeah.
You are a startup person now.
It is
Welcome.
Yeah, and now that we've gone through it, I'm looking back. I'm like, I had no idea. I had no idea.
You
If I
can't
would have
describe
known,
it.
I might not have.
That's what I say.
Yeah.
I say that all the time. I'm like, you have to, part of you has to go into startup life being naive.
Yeah.
You have, that's like
Yeah.
a strength.
Yeah.
Because it's hard.
Yeah.
Why would anyone choose this?
But seriously, that day that Octave said, you will never work this hard in your life, and I'm thinking how hard I've worked on design projects. I mean, working 100-hour weeks, like not even joking, like working insane
that's
hours.
insane.
Yeah.
100-hour weeks?
Easily,
Wait,
yeah.
so what is the schedule?
That's
like,
not recently. That was like 10 years ago.
Oh, okay.
This was like when I'm trying to like get a project done, and it like, yeah.
Would you say you still do the amount of time, or is it just more condensed into a maybe more regular
Yeah,
time?
no, I'm terrible about work-life balance. I can't. I just pretend I can't even. Yeah,
Startup people are.
Yeah, no, I think that's really important, though. I mean, this is something that we talk about even internally because you get a group of very dedicated people. You do have to make vacation time. Like I'm going on vacation next week. I
That's
need
amazing.
to. Yeah. But it is, for this, there's peaks. There's always peaks and valleys.
Yeah.
Of like this the Kickstarter launch was a time we were working a lot.
Yeah.
I try not to work more than 60 hours a week if I can help
Yeah,
it. Yeah, it's
yeah.
not healthy.
What
Yeah.
is that? I've never really
Yeah.
like what is that on a? Is that 9 to 9?
I don't even know. You know what? I don't even know.
9. That's 9 to 9. It's 12-hour days.
I have no idea.
Okay.
I don't even look at.
But you know what it
hours.
is
Yeah.
that makes it kind of. He wants to be a part of this. I love that. You know what kind of makes it feel like it goes by faster is that you're constantly jumping tasks.
Yeah.
So you're not doing the same. You're not like CADing the whole 12 hours, right?
No, exactly.
You're like solving a bunch of different problems.
And that's the thing too, is the variety. Like when I was just CAD, I mean, my whole career started off just being CAD model all the time.
Yeah.
I was just CAD modeling all the time. Is
Yeah.
what really a lot of what. And I love to CAD model. You know, I joke sometimes it's like it's playing a video game. I feel like
Yeah.
I'm playing a video game half the time. Like
Yeah.
when I'm building something.
Because you're just like,
Yeah, and I like
Shortcuts.
You know, I build stuff in my brain. Like I build stuff in my mind before I build it. Like when I'm sketching something, I will sketch the way I'm building it. Like it's weird the way I think nowadays. I feel like I have brain damage sometimes from CAD. Like I really do because I think in CAD weirdly. So
Yeah, like you think of the different commands.
yeah, I don't
and
think
the
it's
different menu
like when I
items.
Like I'll look at something and be like, oh yeah, I could do that curvature continuity with this surface. You know, it's like it's weird.
So I have another question
Yeah.
that's like kind of random, but what's your favorite program of choice? CAD program.
Oh, well, see, I'm weird. I like SolidWorks. Usually most people use.
Yeah.
I don't like SolidWorks that much. I do
A lot of
use
people
it.
don't.
But I've been using Creo Pro E, like
Oh,
Pro Engineer.
interesting. Yeah,
so-
you don't hear that very
Yeah,
often.
no, because I learned that
Yeah.
back at Delta back 20 years ago. So I've been using it for so
Okay,
long.
got it.
But there's this advanced surface modeling within Creo called, I don't even know if it's still called that, ISDX module. So I use that all the time. It's like an
Oh,
advanced
okay,
surface
got
modeling.
it, got
I've
it.
been told it's closer to like maybe I
I
can
mean, your guys' models are great. when you send
Yeah.
them to us,
Well,
they're pretty great.
And
so-
you know, the engineering team is working in SolidWorks, where I'm still working in Creo.
okay.
Usually it's the other way around. Usually it's like the designer working in SolidWorks, and then maybe
Yeah.
the engineer is working in Creo
Yeah,
or
yeah,
something.
yeah.
But yeah, we're flexible, so we work between. But
Interesting.
I'll do a bunch of ideation because I just work really fast in Creo because I've done it for so long.
Yeah, you just
so
know
like
it.
I can pump some stuff out in Creo pretty quickly. So I'll jump between. When I'm in SolidWorks, I'm like super slow. I'm like, oof. Look up
What
a
is this
tutorial.
called? Yeah.
Yeah. But I
Google on the other window.
but learned a little bit of Rhino. I was trying to learn Grasshopper because I really wanted to do like procedural
Yeah,
stuff because
yeah.
that's so
Grasshopper's
cool.
a
Oh my gosh,
tough.
Like this kind of stuff. I did this in Creo still, but it could have been probably a lot easier to do in other tools. But with all the new AI tools coming on board, I'm really exciting stuff
Yes.
where that's going.
I'm also excited. It's going to be very cool.
Just got out of the IDSA deep dive.
I missed it. I couldn't attend.
I had so many meetings, but I popped in for,
Oh, good.
so the recordings, I can't wait
There-
to watch.
You sent me
Yeah.
the links.
Yeah,
I'd
yeah.
love to
And
see it.
the tool, I don't like being limited by a tool.
Right.
That's why like it doesn't almost, not that it doesn't matter, because of course parametric CAD modeling at the end of the day has to be engineered,
Right.
So working with the same tool as the engineer is actually to me is the ideal state, because you want to be able to, like when I build something, I don't build it, it's like I'll design and sketch and have a form idea, but I build it with the idea in mind that the PCB board may be a millimeter or 2 millimeters interfering, so I will be able to edit this one dimension and move it over. And I do something called top-down modeling. So I build it completely flexible from like a larger like surface model that you can then very easily modify and all the components update. Because I like to be efficient because I don't want to work 100-hour weeks
Yeah.
ever again.
Efficiency's key.
Yeah, so working with a tool or software that can, flexibly work. And I'm,
Yeah.
a lot of times getting like step files back from a supplier that's like empty, and I just, use that or rebuild it or cut
Yeah.
away to fix something. So a lot of times I end up with kind of like this like sketchy model
Yeah.
almost, and then I'll go back and rebuild it. It's always easier to rebuild something the second time. And
Yeah,
so
always.
so I'll work in SolidWorks, but I think if I would prefer to work in Creo just because
Interesting.
yeah, or any of the new tools. Like I was like picking up Blender,
Yeah.
really, which is really fun. I love doing keyshot animations. So I got really into like doing all these keyshot animations.
Interesting, yeah.
Yeah, I just wish I need like a more powerful desktop machine, because some of this stuff just like my computer sounds like a aircraft carrier takeoff. It's like insane.
Carpet toy.
He's so cute.
Well,
Yeah.
this has been awesome. This has been, I think this is going to be a really cool episode. I'm
Yeah,
excited to
I'm
see it
excited.
myself and like editing it out.
Edit it down to something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. This was so much fun. Thanks so much for joining me on like I always say thanks for coming on a Saturday. 'Cause
Yeah.
We always do this on Saturdays.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we all survived the apocalypse yesterday. So
We survived the earthquake.
we will rebuild.
These memes about the lawn chair.
Our team Slack channel is just all memes right now. I was like, don't worry, I already made a t-shirt design and I have the I survived the New Jersey 2011 earthquake. It was crossed out like 2024.
That's so funny. You just
Seriously,
sent it to me.
I was like so terrified yesterday though, like no joke, growing, like we were talking earlier. It's like, it's terrifying a little bit.
It took everyone by surprise.
Yeah,
but we
yeah.
survived, and
We're okay.
thankfully there was
We're
nothing
okay.
too
Now
serious.
we're ready for the eclipse on Monday, so we'll survive that next. So.
Hopefully. You never know in today's world, right? You just never know.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining again.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It was so cool to talk through this. I don't get to, I don't get to share it. We haven't been able to talk about it for
Yeah.
so long. It's
And
been
now
in like
you're like,
skunk works
boom.
mode. Yeah. Stealth mode is hard because you want to share. I'm always about like sharing and helping and giving back and stuff. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
Thank you.
thank you. And thanks everyone for tuning in.
Thank you for tuning in. Subscribe to Talking Design and Engineering on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube, or follow MakeLab on social media for the latest in on-demand 3D printing services.